no ID, no problem. And that was the big question that I had when I first, well, not even first, just in the last few years when I got into this space, I was like, how do I buy this crypto stuff or get into Bitcoin or stable coins without having to go through all the horrendous KYC regulations and give blood samples and freaking, needles in my arm and eyes to just have some freedom. I didn't want to. I don't. I get it for some. I do it for some, but I wanted to explore for other purposes. And so that's what I found when I was in Dubai. I met a Swiss company called Centi, and gosh, I've been knowing the founder since 20. It would have been about 3 years now. 3 years ago, and they've been awesome, man. They've been really great. It's a payment processor company and digital wallet out of Zurich, Switzerland, and they've got Swiss stablecoin, onboarding on a Bitcoin SV, bank payments like IBAN or credit card, or also with cash in their local economy. So they're all regulatory compliant, legal. How they do it. It's pretty amazing. So today we're going to do a space. Also, stay tuned to the end. I'm going to try to get Brian Doherty and Alexander Mann on as well. They've got some stuff going on in DC right now that may have some breaking news. So stay tuned for the second hour. I'll see if I split that up here or if we just do a full on show. So either way, that's right now we're going to go into the show with Ben, the founder of Centi, no ID, no problem, using digital wallet, BSV stablecoin. Check it out. All right, I'll see you on the inside, man, at the top. Okay, we got Ben up here, so I'm gonna get started. Let's do it, man. I wanted to let me give a little background here on what we did here and how I even found Centi. I was it was 2022. I flew out when I met Xiaowei Lu which was in Silicon Valley. He convinced me to go out to Dubai after meeting Jimmy Wynn down there. He convinced me to go to Dubai, and I was like, all right, let's go. And we we had a really we I ended up going to dinner with Ben, and we ended up we ended up at this place, man. It was like in Dubai, and it was kind of a wild place. I can't even. I don't really want to share the whole story, but it was a lot of fun. And Ben and I are sitting down next to each other having dinner. It's really freaking loud, super loud music. Boom, 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 and like you're screaming at the top of your lungs in the middle of dinner with like 10 people, and they got the music just pounding so we couldn't really hear each other, but it was a good time and it was a lot of good entertainment, right? So that's how I met Ben. And I really didn't even know who he was when I sat down next to him. I just started talking to him. I had no idea because the music was so loud. But yeah, it turns out I started using the platform, and it's just allowed me to. I started using his platform, which is like basically payment processor, man, and it was allowed me to do no I get on board with no ID, no problem. It didn't even matter. So, and it was all compliant, and they had ways to make things seamless and easy and super cheap, super affordable to onboard. I would say onboarding. So, Ben, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey Gavin, hey everyone. Thanks for having me here. And yeah, I remember I remember also that night in Dubai, and there was like yeah, super loud music and belly dancing, and we had to yeah, yell across the table. I remember that. The food was really good though.
Okay,
Yeah, thanks for having me, and
you're welcome.
happy
Can
to
you fix
elaborate a
your?
bit on what we do, and yeah, ask any question you like.
Okay, first of all, am I Casey? Can you hear his mic, Scott? Can you hear him? Okay, or is it only
It
no?
sounds like you're in a wind tunnel. So
Yeah,
if you
it
could
sounds like you're far
come
away.
a little
Sounds
closer
like you're far
or
away from the
something.
Let
mic.
me check if I can change the mic. Uh-huh. Microphone, is it better?
Yeah, that's try that testing.
Much
Yeah,
better.
that's much better.
Oh, maybe not. Okay.
So you're out of the subway now. All right. So Ben, go. We didn't hear
Cannot
what you
hear
said.
you
I was just
guys.
kind of recapping how we met in
Oh,
Dubai.
that's so weird.
If you could start over.
Let me see.
I don't think he can hear us with what he disconnected for his mic, so give him a sec.
Okay, can you still hear me? I got the audio back from you guys.
Yeah.
Not sure if you can hear
Yeah.
me.
Let me
Okay.
let me
Is
go.
it
Let
is
me
it
go to
less wind
Scott first
tunneling right
before.
now?
Yeah, Ben, before I go to you while you're fixing your audio, let me go to
Okay,
Scott, and if he could just kind of give a little
sure.
background and his story is how he met you and what he liked about Centi. So Scott, why don't you go ahead and start us out?
Yeah, I mean, I never knew about Centi until the London Block Conference. I had the pleasure of meeting Bernard there, in one of the bars by the thing. We had a good chat. I grilled him a little bit on some of the things on Centi, but everything he was saying, I was like, wow, this is a really special platform here. You're doing stuff that I've been asking for, especially as a UK user, for a long time. And so I checked it out, and yeah, it's my go-to for buying BSV and for selling BSV. It's also a nice little storage wallet, and I've not had the chance to really. I've seen the things on there, and I've spoken to Bernard a few times about things that I found good with the platform and bad with the platform, and they've always been so receptive and so quick in acting that I was really more. I'm sort of have been really interested in this the stable coin because of hearing other people in the industry talking so vehemently about it, how great it is what Centi's doing with this Swiss stable coin. I wanted to know more. I've been asking Bernard now for a while to come on a space, but he's always been too busy. So I'm just really glad that he's got the time now to go through it and show us why it's sort of revolutionary for BSV and for consumers in general.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Scott. I hope you guys can hear me fine now. Otherwise, just complain again. I can tweak more. And yeah, thanks for nagging. By the way, I really appreciate the opportunity. And it was just November, December was a crazy month for us. And now really happy to be here. So
Yeah,
let me know
thank
if
you.
the audio works, and then I don't know how you want to do this, Gavin. We just I should give a short introduction what we do, and then people can ask questions, whatever you like. It's your
Yeah,
space.
why don't we start out with your story? I know
Yeah, no, you
you
sound
and I
brilliant,
met in
and
Dubai, but start
yeah,
out with your
Gavin,
story because you
did
go
you
way
did you want to
back.
go ahead with your question initially?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay? Testing? Casey, can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Gavin?
I can hear you, but it sounds
I
like you
saw him
can't.
unmute, but then he muted again. He might
How
have
about now?
connection
Testing?
issues. So go ahead, Bernard. We'd love to hear
Yeah,
what you
just
guys.
Sure.
if you'd like to tell us a bit about yourself and what Centi is
Yeah,
and what you guys are doing, that'd be great.
wonderful. Yeah, so my name is Bernard, or in short, Ben. I'm actually a molecular biologist by, initial trade. I've worked in the like medical diagnostics industry for over 10 years after finishing that. And why do I tell you all this? Well, because it's also a heavily regulated industry, like the financial services industry. And I switched to financial services industry in 2018, where I started working for Bitmain. Bitmain, the manufacturer.
Great. Fuck. I swear I didn't do that, dude. Wow. Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and my job in that company, so I was at the point where I got hired by this spin-off from Bitmain to that built a financial service company in Zurich. And I was actually hired for business development there. But when I got in the company, it became pretty clear that, well, you can start doing business development, but you can't make any sales until, all the compliance and everything is set up properly for a financial services business. And then I had the opportunity to, together with some smart lawyers from Deloitte, to set this all up. And this know-how was then very crucial in founding Centi in 2020, together with my co-founder. He is more the payment services industry expert. He's worked on the credit card side, on the acquiring side. So these are the people that essentially get merchants to accept the credit card, right? As well as on the issuance side, so on the side where you as consumers also have the credit card. Yeah, and the reason we started Centi was, that we saw that from the digitization of the credit card industry, pretty much none of these gains went back to consumers at all. Like, if you maybe some of the older folks in here maybe remember how when you paid with a credit card, sometimes they would like rich rutch over your card and you have like these three receipts, and then the restaurant owner would send them somewhere where somebody would type that into an Excel sheet somewhere. All of this is, of course, fully digitized today, and we pretty much still pay the same. And it's a very, very lucrative industry, meaning that if you check the records of, for example, Visa, they have an EBITDA margin of very close to, and sometimes even up to 70%, meaning 70% of the money you rake in is essentially direct profit, which means there's still a lot of room in this space to become fairer, become better, become more transparent. And at that time, that was in about 2019, mid 2019, we thought now the technology could be ready. Yeah, we're maybe to the other background. I've been in Bitcoin since about 2011-ish. Very like started to get quite active in 2013, organizing meetups or helping organizing meetups here in Zurich and speeches. Zurich at the time was kind of it was a very interesting time because it was the first time people started to do conferences and meet up in Bitcoin. All these nerds on the internet realized, hey, I want to talk to someone real about this because we're so excited. And at those meetups, you really had essentially a lot of the people like Mike Kern, who was on Kurt's show lately, so I've talked to him a few times, or Peter Woody, or other core developers, yeah. And of course, at the time, there was just one Bitcoin, and so it was really exciting to talk to the people that actually work on the core things and so on. But then, yeah, it was also super exciting at the time to send transactions around, like show people Bitcoin, hey, let's send it around in a circle, 10 people, and everything was pretty much still there at the end. And this climate very much changed, as some of you in this group know, in 2013, 14, 15. Bitcoin became more popular, and suddenly we had this kind of scaling issue, right? And at that time, Bitcoin was just not ready. But when we saw alternative implementations, we also saw other blockchains that are like more focusing on actual use, blockchains that don't call transactions spam, but call them transactions. And that's sort of where we got excited and took the leap of faith to actually found a company around payments in Bitcoin. And maybe I make a break here for some questions, and then I'm happy to explain a little bit more about, how is Centi set up, which kind of services it has, and so on. But whatever you guys
Ben,
are interested in, of
yeah.
course.
Are you able to hear me okay, Ben?
I have a bit of echo from you, like I hear you double, but I hear you fine, yeah.
Oh,
That could be because Casey, if you when someone's speaking, if we all mute other than the people that are speaking, that can help with the echo.
oh, okay. How about now? Case testing, testing. All right. So yeah, I was thinking with Ben. So Ben, it sounds like you started with Bitmain and you were kind of going through your story about how you got here and you were working after all the drama happened in the beginning stuff, but then you ended up at Bitcoin Main and then you started into this payment processing company. So yeah, just take us a little bit more back into how this all came about.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, the core idea of our business is very, very simple. The core idea is that we think that also in the digital age, people should be able to directly transact financially with each other. Of course, the entire development that even in retail right now, right, you tap your card and it's super convenient, but there you don't pay that merchant directly anymore. You had like five parties handling promises and things around in circles in the background, which creates a great infrastructure, of course, but also high prices and sometimes issues like merchants get money really late. And I'm not sure any of you in this space have been on the merchant side, on the credit card side. And we are, and I know other merchants too. And what you have in convenience and comfort on the consumer side, I just tap and I'm completely pampered and everything's insured. And whenever I change my mind, I just get my money back. That has a lot of implications on the merchant side because Visa that is taking the 70% EBITDA margin, right? They're not paying that. That's the merchant is essentially ultimately always paying that and gets money later and gets money withhold and gets told you have a risky business, that's why it's even more expensive, or you have a small business, that's why it's more expensive for you. And so we really wanted to change something there and thought, hey, if we actually build something around open protocols and people being able, not only technically, but legally being able to directly transact with each other, and we can just build auxiliary services around this and make sure in the end everybody finds the same convenience they're looking for, but at a lower price, higher speed, and so on. Yeah, that's what we set out to do essentially. That was the core, is still the core vision, and our mission is to build those tools that people can actually make these choices.
All right, so Ben, yeah, I used to work in the merchant card industry, and there's a problem in America with the chargebacks and, of course, the high fees. So how does Centi solve some of these problems?
Well, the main problem solving, the secret sauce I already told you that we solve the problem by allowing this direct interaction. And in this moment of this direct interaction, there is just no need for five people in between who all have very deep pockets and want money or want to withhold the money, right? We think in the end, since we're also building on an open protocol, and essentially, if you don't like what we do, or let's say you're a merchant with us, and then we start squeezing the lemon, we start increasing the prices and everything, then you always have the choice to say, there is no lock-in effect. I can just go and build my own software, which serves the same payment protocol. Same, our users can do the same, right? If they don't like the Centi app, we hope to be best in class, and we're working very hard to make the UX better and better and better, pretty much every day. Some new things coming out there pretty soon. But essentially, the idea is that you don't have to use us to make it happen. We just want to build one tool set which you can use, and we want to be best in class. We want you to choose us out of free will and not because you have a lock-in effect and can't go anywhere else.
Nice.
And that's also what saves the money. That's what makes it more competitive. That's why, essentially in the moment of payment, you pay a Bitcoin transaction fee of a 10,000th of a cent. And then if you need any auxiliary services with that, then that's something else, and that's where we as Centi can make revenue. Money exchange and all these things I might talk about in the future, but maybe I hold here and give an option for more questions, or
Yeah.
whichever direction you want to take it.
Yeah, I see Scott had his go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, that's interesting to me because I've never actually seen that side of Centi. I've always been sort of just more like a customer directly of Centi. So you say that you've created like a payment portal. Is that for like, small businesses? You've got a cafe. You can now start accepting dollars via BSV or pounds via BSV. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, sure. We have an entire set of merchant tools, and one is indeed a portal. It's reachable on the portal.centi.ch, but again, you need to be whitelisted there. You need to be onboarded as a merchant, but there, merchants have a dashboard. They can create spaces. A space defines certain sales characteristics like the currencies you accept and things like that. They can define product offerings in there. They can also create promotions. They can create their own tokens on the blockchain, which we allow them to do just not for financial instruments, but if they want to issue tickets, vouchers, coupons, and all that sort of thing, they can do that through our portal. And of course, the entire portal and actually everything else we do is also available essentially as raw APIs, right? Our UX is just use APIs that we built that connect to microservices on our backend. And that's also why some of these products are also available, let's say under license or on the white label, or let's say somebody else wants to come in and say, hey, we want to build a stable coin infrastructure rather quickly. We have our own legal setup, but we need a tool set where we can start managing issuance, redemption, where we can, maybe we even need a user wallet sort of setup. We can help with all these things as well. And that's what you usually don't see on the consumer side of Centi if you just use our app, the kind of merchant tools. That also has to do, of course, with assuming most of you here are joining internationally, that our merchants, there are a few international merchants, but it's basically a handful, and the rest of them are in Switzerland. Yeah, but then we have also interesting merchants integrations where it goes deeper, like in our remittance use case, where, for example, some of the companies helping us to disperse the remittance are actually our merchants. And if you read the terms of service into certain countries, you will actually see that you interact with those merchants and not with Centi in that moment. All over always first line of support as well for you as consumers. So if you want to imagine Centi in a sort of simplified way, you can imagine all these microservices and tools for invoicing for merchants, as well as the stablecoin as being like base infrastructure. And then you have sort of the business to client side with the Centi app and all these services inside the Centi app. And then you have the business to business side, where essentially, merchants can access all these things as well through a portal. And of course, we help them. Many merchants actually, they have us help set up things once, and then it's basically, autopilot from there on.
Nice. Thank you, Ben. So I want to go to the onboarding, like the no ID stuff that I came across. But before we do that, can you just go into the stable coin? Because we had on Scott brought in and Casey brought in DXS, and I can't, I think it was DXS that told us, Scott, about Centi and how they use Centi for this. He learned from Centi about STAS. Is that right, Scott? Do you remember?
I think so. Yeah, I remember it was DXS and Orange Gateway, and there was a round discussion about how I believe it was, is it Dimitri? I can't remember, but the DXS gentleman, he was saying how it was desperately needed.
Yeah. It was something about
Yeah, happy to
STAS.
Was
talk about. So you want me to talk about the stable coin as well as maybe
yeah,
a bit about
Stablecoin.
the STAS protocol that we use, yeah? And I'm actually very, very, these are really good questions. So, Stas Trock is the inventor of Stas protocol, and he's not a very, let's say, loud personality in our ecosystem, right? So there wasn't really good ways to found this protocol, but luckily I had some friends that helped me and said, hey, you should really talk to this guy, and he has some really interesting Bitcoin scripts he's creating. And so I did. And the Stas token protocol story is actually quite a sort of organic success story, I feel, because there was neither big funding for this protocol, nor support, nor a lot of media attention. I feel it's kind of like a true, almost a bit like a grassroots development on its own inside BSV, because there were just companies like ourselves that liked the properties that it could bring and saw the advantages in the properties it could bring, and that attracted a set of companies to actually start working with that token, and so did we, and we were quite happy to be able to influence that. There are a few versions of it, right? And we were quite happy to be able to influence some of these versions in regards to which requirements, which properties, and so on that the token should have. And I'm more than happy to hear that other people find it also useful. Honestly, I'm not in the space with my head all the time. I'm mostly in my own business space where we have a lot of things to deal with every day. So I don't know exactly. I know that DXS is using it. I know the indexers, of course. I know some other companies that are using it, but if I hear that even more people start using it, yeah, that's wonderful.
Hmm.
Then maybe, or maybe you want to have some questions there, and then I go to the legal side of the stablecoin and what that is. So
Yeah.
that's about the technology that we use for that stablecoin. Maybe
Yeah.
that first
Scott,
part.
Casey, did you have anything? Or Casey, did you have anything?
I'm just looking at your website and absolutely blown away with all these business categories and solutions that you guys have. It's very robust, and I'm excited to kind of deep dive into a lot of these different ones with you at some point. So, I mean, really, the one that I was drawn to BSB here was the content monetization. You guys have a lot of options for community and social platforms and e-commerce and all kinds of cool stuff in here. Do you want to share a little bit about just that in general, all the different options you have for a
Sure.
business?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you look on the website, actually quite a few of these cases you see there are already monetized today, but not all the cases there. You already have a client that says, "Oh, I have that." But we, for content monetization specifically, we have, of course, um, existing platforms can easily integrate us to our APIs, but we are under I think it's media.centi.app. It's currently still very raw, but we're essentially building our own media platform as well, with the strategy to bring uh, publishers and especially archive owners and so on to this platform. So we've learned, like, in 2022, we spoke to about 50 media companies in Europe, about, including our product. And the idea is, of course, that you don't need to go through these annoying paywall registrations, right? That you find an article on Google News and you're interested and it's in your niche, right? But it's from the local newspaper of some sub community of New Jersey, and it's just because now you're interested in marathon running that you want this article, and you're definitely not going to subscribe, right? So how can you monetize this kind of long tail distribution content that people are interested in? Because, or just imagine a Taylor Swift fan, they want to read everything about her, no matter in which kind of newspaper, but they're not going to subscribe everywhere because of that. And we realized there that the media industry is still kind of very traditional. At that time, they had just kind of digested the whole everything moves digital, and now also COVID, and now it moves even more digital. And of course, subscriptions, they always fear cannibalization. So they fear that if you offer that on their own website, that some people might cancel their subscription because they now can just pay for what they want to read, right? So we're now building a platform which they can use as a secondary sales channel, which will not cannibalize their current readership on their own homepage, and is also very valuable for archive monetization. Say a magazine about how you live nicer with the beautiful sofa pictures, or recipes, spring recipes for baking cakes. Well, every spring there is spring again. You can monetize these every spring, right? So what, and a lot of publishers have archives and archives and archives full of content they could start monetizing that way. And so that's currently a bit the route we're going. Of course, this platform can also be used for like community content monetization, like Medium or something. But we, as a business, we see most potential right now in almost building our own news platform, which other providers can essentially use as a secondary sales channel.
Nice.
Very cool. I'm very interested in, like I said, spending more time with you. I know we're not going to get to deep dive into some of this stuff today, but there's just so many amazing things I'm seeing here with freelance platforms and music and just monetizing people's content. So That's
Yeah, I
wonderful.
mean that this should be pretty close, right, to everyone in the BSV ecosystem that, yeah, micropayments, payments for content. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? And
Mhm.
you see everywhere these like single wallet applications popping up. And of course, you could argue, yeah, Senti is not one of these, but we have a bit different approach. But essentially, like, if you need if the payments get too small for credit cards to be viable, what companies do is they build their own point system or apps, or you have to buy 50 points at a time, and then you can credits, tokens, whatever you want to call it, right? And a lot of that has to do with because they don't want to collect many small payments. They rather want to collect one big payment because it's a lot cheaper. But with this technology, we can really essentially, what Elon Musk is saying he wants for Twitter, what Twitch has done, and so on, right? This could be done essentially on our APIs or on APIs of Handcash or whatever else. It's possible. The solutions are mostly there, at least from our side. It's really a question of placing it with the right players, finding the right partners, and and in our case, of course, and that's maybe the circle or the segue back to the stablecoin. It's about making it possible for everyday users. The BSV ecosystem is way too small for any business to say, well, I'm gonna, build my business case essentially on BSV people. Yes, maybe some brokerage, some trading. Yes, I'm not saying there's no opportunity, but the space is too small, the volumes are too small. So we need to really focus on using this technology for plumbing, for piping, and kind of just make useful use cases that people want to use. And that's essentially where the Centi-Franc stablecoin comes in. People don't need to learn, know, or anything about BSV. They can just buy a Swiss bank guarantee-backed stablecoin from us direct to consumer. They can also return it direct to consumer, or direct to us in this case from the consumer, and they have a stable instrument, right? Times like these today, the market again went down a few percent, right? Maybe a few of you have seen. Well, if our users shouldn't be affected by that. They make their economic decisions and everything in Swiss francs and maybe later euros and dollars and so on, right? But that's what they need. They need to be able to top up Swiss francs and then use these for use cases, and completely skip the entire learning about blockchain and everything. That's when they're interested, they can learn more about that. Once the product has worked and they have had a good customer experience, that's where they can learn about that. Or we can try to, have financial literacy, education inside the app and things like that. But at the beginning, needs to be just a good use case that works.
Nice. Thank you, Ben. I see Sartoshi's up. Did you want to add anything, buddy? How you doing? Sartoshi. Scott.
Um, yeah, that was brilliant. Great question there from Casey, and thank you for that answer. It sort of adds into my question really. So obviously you talk about the Swiss stable coin, and I've been able to use your sort of buying and selling services via euros, and I know you also spoke previously about how the legality of doing this fast peer-to-peer service is important and cutting these middlemen out. But is there views if you're using all these different tools and creating these, like media branches and things like that, is there the view of sort of encompassing every type of currency? Because of obviously myself as a UK user, there's a lot of different rules and regulations on digital currencies and things like that. So I'm wondering, do you see the foresight of having pounds on Centi and a Centi stable pound, a Centi stable dollar, or does it have to be Switzerland because you guys are under Swiss banking laws? Like that's,
Yeah,
or is
thanks for
it
the
does
for the
it,
question. No, so the vision is, of course, this business is not confined to Switzerland, right? This is a global thing, and it also has the potential. We already know the blockchain works globally, right? And even, it even is even compatible with other wallets and so on by using these open protocols. And so you could also essentially build local affiliates and all this. When it comes to a euro or a US dollar stablecoin, we can, under the current regulation, issue that. And we've also have certain plans that I can't go too deep into that to do that. However, there is one caveat. For example, for a euro stablecoin, it's just much better to do this from a European or European Economic Area entity. In our case, this would be, for example, Liechtenstein, because then you can passport this product into the entire EU. And this doesn't mean if we do a euro stablecoin in Switzerland, it's a bit a complex topic. It doesn't mean we cannot sell this to European citizens, right? It's fine, we can. Like, we have people from the UK or from UK, from Europe now joining, and some of them have a Centi app and have interacted with us. What we cannot do is go and actively solicit in this market. I cannot place billboards in London or in Frankfurt airport and say, everybody download Centi and use these services, right? If they find us through word of mouth, through a Twitter space, through something where we generally put something out on our blog, on Twitter, that's totally fine. But as soon as we go and target a specific market, which quite often in business to consumer business, you have to do at some point with a certain aggression, let's say that way, if you want to capture market shares, then you actually need a product which is properly regulated also in that jurisdiction. And this is why we think this will rather work from another jurisdiction if it should be a bigger euro stablecoin, or we will work with partners on that. But yes, the plan is, of course, not to be confined to Switzerland and the Swiss franc, but our kind of attitude is we have to show it works first. We have to show the products work within this jurisdiction, right? We have to, for example, now on our remittance use case, you can find this in the app now under remittances. You can send to 23 countries, for example, mobile money in Africa, and you can also send money to Kosovo or Brazil or other countries. UK, for example, is also a huge remittance source country. Switzerland also a huge remittance source country. And these are then the sort of products, that we can essentially offer alongside.
Yeah. So Ben, let me ask you about that if I could. So when I first came across you guys, like when I met you in person there in Dubai, I downloaded the app. I was like, oh, this is great. I started just wiring funds, with that's how I did it with the IBAN. And then I was like, oh, this is cool. I can open up trust accounts. And so then I have different like trust and unincorporated association accounts that I'm not even associated with. I'm not, so I had like trustees like, oh, okay, just, log in and create it on your phone. And then all of a sudden trusts with no ID are able to, get the, basically buy in with the IBAN, from America legally, so, I mean, I was like, am I the only one that knows about this? I was like, this is amazing, so maybe you could share like how that's all
Sure,
possible.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting topic. So we are a fully regulated Swiss financial services provider. We are also AML audited. So whatever we do is, of course, legal. Now, what we use is a sort of an exemption in the law, which also, by the way, exists in the EU in a very similar fashion and in other countries, which is essentially the topic is money exchange, right? I give you a very simple example. If you go to an airport and give £200 to exchange for euros, they don't need to ask your ID. Some might not. But if you come back with more money or if you come very regularly, they have to do that, right? So there is like sort of casual amounts. And in Switzerland, that's defined as up to 1,000 Swiss francs per month and user that you can do that. If you read our terms of service, however, you will also see that this service is geared towards private persons, so and not a sort of a B2B service. Like, yes, I mean, if your fund just needs $500 worth of BSV or something a month, you can use it. Again, somebody, depending on which method to come in or out you use, you will have to, for example, ID yourself. Sometimes this is needed, for example, if you come with credit card, rather for fraud prevention than actual, let's say, regulatory need. And yeah, that's basically it. So we have a limit of 1,000 Swiss francs per month and user, under which you can pretty freely transact with us. And we may actually increase these limits for certain transactions in the future because, for example, a bank payment, what you've been using, Gavin, is actually not considered an anonymous payment method. And there, the limits would be a bit higher than these 1,000 Swiss francs. But for now, for also most of our use cases that we want to serve, 1,000 Swiss francs a month is actually enough. Maybe when we talk about the remittance case more, we can talk about kind of the numbers and what we expect there, how much people actually transact. And for most people, this limit already empowers them actually to do quite a few things they probably couldn't do without the Centi app.
Empowers is the right word, man. I appreciate you saying that because it's for me, it's like just a little taste of freedom because while you say it's no ID on the banking, well, maybe, but if it's trust accounts or unincorporated association accounts where I'm not, hey, that's established. Now you're not taking the ID and I could just send the money. And the other thing was about the fees. When I looked at it today and when I've done it in the past, I could send it in Swiss francs from the bank, and then I think the fees were almost zero, or very close to, or I could buy. I think it was buying BSV was like 1%. So very very reasonable. What are the fees on it, Ben?
Yeah, so we don't have any fees on the Centi franc purchases right now. If you come with the bank, of course we have fees if you use a method which incurs fees to us, like credit cards. We of course need to take a fee, but with banking we can essentially offer it like that. I think we do incur a small fee when you return the Centi franc to us. And on BSV for bank payments, we have a fee of 1% currently. That's correct. And depending on which method you come, the fee can be higher than that. For example, with credit card, it's actually quite high, but people use that mostly to buy casual amounts. They need $20 of BSV for something, and then they don't care. They want it instantly, right? But for everyone who is like a smart saver, let's say that way, they should rather use the banking method.
Yeah,
And what's
and the banking method. So basically, the way it worked is as I would just say, like say 999 or $1,000 in Swiss francs on one phone or one wallet, and then another phone over here could be another thousand, another phone over here could be another thousand, let's say, because it's all different and it's all different accounts basically, right? So then it would go in with the Swiss franc deposit from the bank, and there was no fees, literally no fees, and no KYC.
Well,
I mean, amazing.
yeah, the fee. So there could be a fee. It really depends how people send the money. Sometimes some people send the money through international correspondence banks and such, where then our bank deducts something. And if you read our terms, that if we get something deducted on our side, we will just adjust your order request. On the other point you mentioned, again, if these are all different entities, it's fine. But of course, we do have methods in place to detect so-called smurfing. So this is exactly if one user goes and says, "Oh, I'm a smart ass, I just create 70 accounts," right? And we do have methods to detect that, and we might also disable accounts when we realize this. However, what I want to underline again, which is very important to us, is that if we would do that, we would just choose not to offer these services to you anymore, but we cannot hold your money hostage or freeze it or take it away from you. You have your mnemonic. You could go and restore, access your raw keys for your Bitcoins or your Centi franc or whatever else. And yeah, that's very important to us. But I just want to say we do, of course, have obligations and duties and also under sort of, how do you say, yeah, it doesn't matter. Sorry, it doesn't come to my mind, but just under diligent business practices,
Totally.
essentially, right? We have to, of
Yeah.
course, ensure as well as we can that this is not
Yeah,
circumvented.
don't set up accounts in your multiple accounts in your own name because you're probably get not allowed. So that would make sense. Uh, yeah. So Ben, that's really crazy, man. The bank, and doesn't it have like a bank guarantee with the stable coin as well, where it's truly like stable with Switzerland? Well,
Yeah, so our stablecoin has a bank guarantee. So what is this? This actually means that we are the issuer, right? You have a claim against us with each cent of Centi Franc. You have a claim of 1 cent against us. And should we, however, for some reason default, which we don't hope, and which will not happen, but if it would happen, then you would be essentially be made whole by the bankruptcy trustee and the bank. So the bankruptcy trustee will then use this bank guaranteed money to pay out all the Centi Franc token holders. And we think that's actually quite a good concept, and it creates a lot of trust because it's not just like, oh yeah, we tell you we have those reserves. It's actually literally a guarantee of a Swiss bank that stands behind it. And yeah, we're excited about that, especially then in combination, of course, with the micropayments capabilities, which I also want to highlight here. Sorry, I know I talk a lot, but we've built a lot, and that's we showed, for example, last February, so a year ago, we did at a conference live 1.3 million transactions in 24 hours with our stablecoin, right? And that was at a cost of about $7 to $10 of on-chain fees. And you can just try and think about how much 1.3 million transactions on a credit card network would cost, or on one of the bigger leading blockchains, like let's say market leading blockchains. And so, yeah, it's truly amazing that we can do that and still have this bank guarantee behind. And what's important about the Centi Franc stablecoin, for those that don't know, it's a bearer instrument, right? It's the person who holds the coin has the claim. There is no need to register each claim transfer or something like that. It's not account keeping. It's not keeping of deposit lines or anything like that. It's literally whoever holds the token has this claim in hand, and should the claim not be fulfilled, has a claim against this bank guarantee.
Nice. Crypto Voyager has his hand up. Over to you, buddy. Welcome.
Yeah, hi everyone. Bernhard, your bank guarantee, up to what amount is that bank guarantee there? I mean, I believe it's like the deposit insurance in the US. Is there a maximum amount that is
It's
guaranteed?
shown as requested.
I could hear you, Crypto Voyager.
I heard the question. Yeah, it's about the guarantee size. So currently this guarantee is for 200,000 Swiss francs, and that's also exactly the issued amount of Centi Franc. But of course, the guarantee, can be increased as more liquidity and so on is needed for the use cases. But yeah, that's also kind of interesting about our stablecoin. We have quite some applications we power with it right now. But of course, this is kind of a very circular economy. So the actual amount needed is not that much, right? People, let's say, a person might buy it from us through cash deposit at the Swiss post office, right? Could be, for example, someone from Africa that immigrated here. Then they purchase this, then have it on the Centi app, and then already kind of next minute they can already use that and say, oh, now I'm gonna send it to my grandma in Uganda, and sort of send the money, and then this circles back to either Centi or one of our providers that accepts it, and then we exchange it again for them for money on the bank account. So there is a lot of transactions you can do sort of in that volume. And of course, as the stablecoin would shift to a more like traditional stablecoin where you also do arbitrage trading and all these things, or for example, in a euro stablecoin, that's then more likely. Then of course you definitely need more volume, and you would have to increase the guarantee and everything.
I mean, Ben, this is not in any way legal or financial advice, and I'm not with Centi or anything. I'm on my own, but I'm saying for me, I think it's kind of like my own little Swiss bank account, in a way. And Ben, you don't have to comment on that because I know you. But that's how I feel like it is. It's like literally like I have my own little Swiss bank account,
Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, there we go. Satoshi.
Oh, finally. Jeepers, I've got a new microphone. I just couldn't get it to link up there. This sounds awesome, Bernard. I've just been looking on the Centi website, and on the website it looks like you can actually convert where it says how and where you can deposit cash. It's got an option on the Centi website where it looks like you can convert your cash to euros, dollars, and all that kind of stuff. Will that mean that literally in the future you'll be doing like a GBP stablecoin as well, where people could just transfer their GBP fiat and use a GBP valued STAS token on from Centi. Because if that's true, that would be massive.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we covered already part of your question, mostly for
Yeah.
euro and US dollars previously, so it might not be interesting for everyone to answer it. But in general, yes, you can. First of all, if your first comment, yes, you can come with cash. Currently, only in Switzerland, you go to the Swiss post office. So essentially, you generate a QR code in the app
Yeah.
to show that to the post office worker. You pay that, and then the rest is working through us, and we know the code that we generated and everything. And then, of course, we do have current, like you can already get out of Centi, of course, on the blockchain, Centi Franc, and hopefully other stable tokens in the future. But you can also have payouts in US dollars, euros, or Swiss francs to your IBAN account.
Wow.
On that note, maybe if you go to this exchange section in our app, we are radically changing that in one of the next updates because, like, while for BSV power users, and I guess we have a few in this room, it was okay to use the user interface, like what do I want to exchange for what? But for the people we talk to on the streets that our investors, go and gain, for example, for our remittance use case, that is all way too complicated. They need like one question at a time. The first question is like, do you want to get money in or out? Okay, you answer that. Okay, I want to get money in. And then there is a default option, Centi Franc, because that's essentially what, it works for all our use cases. So, and then you can use other, and there you will see BSV and maybe some other things, right? And then it's like, okay, how many do you need? How do you want to pay? So we're really going to change that user interface to make it a lot easier for people to find what they need, which is one of the learnings we had when we hit the street in December, and literally, went and talked to as many people as we could about the app and how it feels to them, and if they want to try out, send some money to someone in Africa they know. We went to a place in Zurich where there's a lot of diaspora, right? A lot of people, foreigners that migrated, and yeah, essentially got the app really in the hands of these people, and there we learned a lot more than you could learn on any ivory tower.
Right, yeah, that's amazing, mate. Thanks very much. Spot on.
Yeah, Satoshi, anything else to add?
I'm just looking forward to telling everybody about it. Yeah. Any improvements and updates and things like that, I'll get straight on it. But this is a fantastic idea. It's a great idea having a stable coin, particularly a Swiss franc stable coin. On the BSV network that can be cashed out into other currencies. It's brilliant. It's got the potential to be massive.
Hey Ben, what about gift cards? Can I buy with a gift card?
Not yet. We don't have connection to a gift card seller. It's an interesting concept. However, I could reference you that in some ecosystem wallets, like I think, for example, Centi, you could do that. So if you buy BSV, then you could do it there. But it's a good idea. What we actually plan to do, and I think this plan has already been announced at the last conference. Unfortunately, the product's not there yet. We've also announced the remittance there. This product is now in the app. And what we would like to do is build in the app a virtual debit card, essentially. And I've been ranting about these companies, and so hear me out first. Why we want to do that? So essentially, we would like to get in a virtual debit card, which is a lot cheaper than these typical crypto debit card or credit cards you see where you pay $20 for KYC and whatnot, which would also be KYC free under certain limits. And it's purely virtual, so no physical card and so on. But you could then use essentially Centi to pay everywhere you want to pay. And yes, we don't really feel like fueling more money into this card industry that we're actually trying to disrupt. But for our user, it's super important to feel that the Centi app is as unilaterally possible to be used, as we can make it. And we have about 500 merchants right now in Switzerland, right? And even if it was 2,000 or 5,000, you really need all the big players, the Tesco's and the Aldi's and all these supermarkets and petrol station chains, and you need all these to have a payment method where people are have as common knowledge about it as they have about cards or PayPal or something like that. And to get there is actually very, very hard because every merchant would ask you how many users you have, and every user asks you, well, how many merchants do you have? So you need to build auxiliary products which can attract users without the merchants. All the other payment companies, if you study the history of Visa, MasterCard, and so on, how they did this in the Bay Area at the time, it's all on the user side. You win the race on the user side, which is why we are currently focusing heavily on getting more and better features and better UX and everything. We have now, for example, translations, 12 languages. I just did another 7 translations today, Albanian, Korean, and so on. So we really want to make sure it's accessible and so on.
Ben, are you with us till the top of the hour, or what's your availability?
I'm still good for another 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Well, if there are questions, right? If people are interested, for sure.
Yeah. So if anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to request on up here, and you can come up on stage. Happy to approve you guys. We'll be happy to approve you. So anybody, Casey, did you have anything to add, or Scott?
Crypto Voyager's got his hand up.
Yeah, hi Bernhard again. I have two questions. So that I understand the system. One, the one talks about Swiss bank accounts. That's nice and dandy. If I leave money as Centi Swiss francs, is there an interest option, like for staking or something like that? Do you offer that?
Today there is no interest option. We are not allowed to give or take interest at this point. However, there is very interesting concepts in the stablecoin area coming up. It's actually I can't really say circumvent, but to do something which comes very close to interest without being interest, right? And basically do promotional stuff which results in pretty much the same. But this is not the case yet. So people that do hold Centi franc mostly hold it just because of the stability of the Swiss franc, and they just like it. And usually, historically, it appreciates against, let's say, their home base currency. But of course, that's never guaranteed. It just represents the Swiss franc. So
Okay,
no, we do not give you currently options to stake or create any sort of interest out of the Centi franc.
Okay, that was the first question, and the second question was something that you said about the insurance, the 200,000 Swiss francs insurance. Is that per person, or is that in the whole system? I kind of did not understand that.
That's for the
phrase.
whole system, but that's also it represents also the issued amount. So every single cent is actually covered by this guarantee. And of course, the bank is very interested to monitor that we do not issue more than the guarantee covers, because that would, expose them to liabilities which aren't covered by the guarantee.
Okay. So if Gavin and his trusts buy up all the 200,000 Centi francs, that's basically it.
No, then we'll just
That's
then we will increase. Then we will happily increase the guarantee and make it bigger. So
okay.
that's the idea.
Perfect.
And that's also to be honest here, Centi, there is huge potential in stable coins, be it for transactions or be it also to make money on treasury, right? That's how does Tether make money? How do all these stable coins make money? They make money by holding all these assets and creating some sort of interest on it, which they usually don't pass on. They sometimes pass it on in some way, or but that's how essentially Tether makes the money. And every stablecoin issuer can do that, and you can also do that if you have a bank guarantee and the money in a Swiss bank and so on. You can generate interest, but for that to be, let's say, economically interesting, you need a certain volume of the stablecoin, right? Let's say ideally, a few million, a few 10 million, even better. And from there on, it gets even more interesting, right? And for us, the stablecoin is really an infrastructure project at this moment. We also, of course, love if other people want to use this infrastructure, but it was honestly never the main focus of the company. We were just kind of forced to build the stablecoin because we wanted to do it with some partners, and then they fell short, or it was too slow, or the priority was not right. And then we just thought, well, too much depends on it for us. We have to now build it ourselves to have it in time. But we would be more than happy also to work, with stable coins of other issuers and have them in the Centi app and or extend our line of stable coins as well. But the core of Centi is about this vision and mission I told you about in the beginning. It's about these direct transactions and enabling people and businesses to do that and providing the auxiliary services. And stablecoin was just the base infrastructure we had to build in order to actually also enable those cases.
Yeah. So the only way to exchange it right now, Ben, would be on the Centi app. Is that right?
That's correct. This is not an exchange listed coin. This is exactly a bit the difference. Right? One difference is that there is a bank guarantee, which is great. It's micropayments capable, and also it's direct to consumer, or you can bring it back directly to us. Yeah, you cannot bring, if you have 10 Tether, you cannot bring them back to Tether. You have to go to, an exchange essentially. We would, of course, love to be, have more volume and be listed on an exchange. However, if we talk to these exchanges, you will see they ask for a lot of money to get a listing, especially on a new token protocol. And they really want to accompany all the listings with a lot of like trade games, competitions, giveaways, airdrops, and so on. So really launching, like if you want to really try and push a stable coin on these trade platforms for like arbitrage trading and having, like, let's say, a decent amount of trader use that stable coin in the end for their trading needs, you need to invest few $100,000 at least just in paying these exchanges these fees, getting these promotions and everything in place. And for our use cases, that's just not needed. So that's why we haven't done it. And then, of course, you would also need the funds to do it, but this is not needed for our use cases. This direct to consumer model actually works very well for what we're doing.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I know one use case was like Limit, for example. They want to use a stable coin, and it sounds like, I mean, I don't know if it would require an exchange, but I mean, is there a way that could work for a platform like a Limit or content creator platform with a stable coin with Centi?
Yeah, I think we also already talked about that. We're building one ourselves, and then our APIs can be used to integrate in any existing or future platform that people like to integrate, be it the stablecoin payments or raw BSV payments. By the way, I'm not sure, maybe it's interesting for some of you here in the room. We also, by the way, provide certain API functions, which are sort of from the merchant side without you needing a merchant account. So let's say you just want to use Centi to invoice. You want to hack together a quick MVP. You want to collect BSV or stablecoin payments, and you just want, essentially, you don't need this wallet on the Centi system. You basically just know, I want money to this address, that much, that currency. You can also use Centi just for this invoicing and get the feedback, whether it's paid or not paid. And that's a pure tech service that we kind of provide for free. I mean, we will probably not do that forever, but for now, provide it for free to anyone who just wants to have a simple way to just quickly invoice on BSV without any legal hassle or huge onboarding or anything. Yeah, then you can also use that. And of course, for the fully onboarded clients, we have a lot of more features and functions, and they can issue the tokens and all the things I mentioned in the beginning.
No, it sounds like you're saying that if let's say I wanted to buy, okay, let me just give an example. I want to buy a one of these meme coin, or not a meme coin, but a picture online, and I want to click a button, and I was a company. Is there a way to integrate Centi, you're saying, into a website where I could accept it, where I could?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, of course. This is actually, before we had any consumer application, this was the case we built. We built acceptance tools for BSV, at the time raw BSV, And of course, we were hoping, like, maybe others in this ecosystem, that also BSV on the consumer side, or let's say within the blockchain space and so on, would pick up more. I mean, I think when we started the company, BSV was on the market still one of the top 5 coins or something, right? And so there were very high hopes that these kind of tools would also be needed by many merchants. But we always knew that this would not be enough. It's we don't go after the BSVers. We want to go after the big picture. But was of course a great stepping stone, and now we've extended all these tools for the tokens, and now you can do everything we were able to do with BSV now also with tokens. And yes, you can use our APIs to integrate into your website. You can get different responses, like for an invoice, for example, you can get a dynamic graphical element. You can just embed in a frame that even shows a tick mark if it's paid, or you get like a raw direct payment protocol invoice, or different formats, however you like to integrate them.
So if a company wants to use, if a company wants to accept payments, then what do they have to do? What do they need to do?
So again, it depends. If they need our financial services, then they would have to onboard with us, and then they get full access to our portal and everything. But if you want to just accept BSV somewhere easily and just have like a tool that does that, and you just know which address and which amount, which currency you want to, like how many dollars worth of BSV you want to collect essentially, and where to, then you can use those tools essentially freely without going through this onboarding and everything. However, most merchants that we have, they would be fully on board, and what they're doing is they're collecting Centi Franc, but they couldn't care less about it. What they know is we give them money on the bank account down the road. So they still get the same kind of credit card convenience, but the business flow is still linear, meaning the customer pays the merchant, then the money is on the merchant wallet. But then Centi, as a financial service provider, we are also a fiduciary to those merchants. And then we are allowed to grab into that wallet of the merchant every night automatically and take that money out and exchange it for money on the bank account. So they have the same convenience of money on the bank account, but they, everything was linear, everything was direct. We had a direct trade with them. They had a direct trade with their customer, essentially.
Nice. Casey, anything to add?
I just was wondering, if you guys are revolutionizing global finance and providing a truly scalable, borderless alternative, how will this not fall into the same regulatory traps that have limited financial freedom in the past?
That is a very, very good question. And we see that the regulation allows it. We also have confirmation from our audits, and we actually assess this now for Europe, and we see that with a very, very small change, Centi can also actively be solicited in Europe. Now, there is certain soft factors in regulations. Let's say if you look at the Swiss regulation, it's not only technical how you're regulated. So it's not only like, these users are going peer-to-peer and that's all fine. If a certain method we will work very hard to prevent this, but if essentially you become so important, if we had 5 million users in Switzerland, right, everybody uses it daily, then you can be considered sort of infrastructure critical, and more regulation can be imposed on you than you would actually need from the sort of pure technical thing that you're doing. And that's what can happen. But to be honest, that is a suffering on very high level. If we have that many users and if we have that problem, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to sort it or afford the more scrutinized regulatory oversight.
Good question, Casey. Crypto Voyager, you've got your hand up, buddy.
Yeah, I went down and came up again because now another question surged up. I'm understanding your system. Now, my question is, for other countries, instead of using cross-border payments or something like that, would it be a viable way to say, okay, fine, we have a dependency here in, for example, Mexico, that also has a bank account with a Mexican bank and just basically copies the whole Centi legal infrastructure, and you would sell the IT infrastructure? Is that
Yes, a very
possible?
good question. Thanks. That's essentially for these countries which are not Switzerland or Europe, that's pretty much our go-to-market strategy, right? So we want to prove and show this, but Centi is very, very capable of being a franchise or being licensed out. Say you license it from us, be it as a franchise under the brand, or you might license it under your own brand, whatever. You build this in Mexico, you can use all these tools. And also, you could even have your own consumer base, like they're using Centi Mexico and so on. But if they go and travel and they come to Switzerland or somewhere else where there's Centi, it's still globally compatible. So exactly like with the card schemes, right? Because we build on the blockchain and everything's on the blockchain, no matter who is offering what locally to someone, if they want to use it globally, that's still going to work. But it's exactly your type of thinking that we also have, because let's say you want to go into the US market or the Mexican market or so on. We have no market experience there. I'm pretty sure certain licenses and so on are needed. So ideally partner up with somebody who has already these licenses, or somebody that, says, hey, I have 20 years of experience in this industry in Mexico. I've done this before. I like your technology. Let us, do something together. That's exactly how we see Centi growing beyond Europe in the future.
Nice. Crypto Voyager, anything else? Looks like we have BSV Panama. Oh, you joined us, but looks like you came back down. Let me see if you can.
No, not at the moment.
Okay, somebody else is coming up. Hold on, let me go ahead and approve. Okay, we got Ben for probably like maybe 5 or 10 more minutes. So go ahead. It was who's the new guest? I thought somebody just came up, but maybe not. Yeah. Kendom, you're up. Question. Go ahead, my friend. How you doing?
Hey, Gavin, it's actually Kendronomics. Yeah, it was just interesting conversation hearing here, guys. And, I didn't really have anything to comment on right now. I just wanted to listen, but I will surely comment when I feel it's relevant, if that's okay.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for joining. I appreciate
Welcome.
it, my friend.
Yeah.
Over to you, BSV Panama.
Hello, Gavin. Hi, and hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. I have a question for Mr. Müller, because I am a Swiss expat in Panama and I cannot subscribe to the Centi app because I only have a Panamanian number. And I really would like him to be able to extend the service to more countries, and especially Panama. We should not forget that Panama is hosting a blockchain conference in April, and this could be even a very good opportunity for Centi to get to become known, and opening up the phone numbers for Panama would be a great advantage. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot for your comment. Maybe we've communicated before, could even be. Yeah, of course, again, as you heard, we love to go global and so on. And right now, yes, we could allow these numbers from Panama. Right now, it's kind of an internal risk management strategy in regards to which kind of countries we allow in regards to the phone number for sign up. But we have already added some countries which weren't there in the beginning, and especially if you feel like there's a good opportunity. I will also have to check. There is like, our regulatory organization has like a list of risks associated to countries, and
Right.
I could imagine that Panama is somewhere on the orange up to red list, maybe. And
Probably.
so we always have to consider these kind of things as well. We can work with pretty much every country except for these usual suspects right now, Russia, and then of course North Korea, Pakistan, and so on.
Yes.
But that's pretty much it. Yeah, the rest we are allowed to, but let's say you know, in an audit, I suddenly have 3,000 phone numbers from Panama, and then I might have, you know, it has to make sense. Like, oh, okay, yeah, these people are using it for the BSV exchange services and peer-to-peer services makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
so I will consider. Please write to me again, especially with this link to the
Thank you.
conference. My email is bernard@centi.ch. And yeah, I'm also going to post here, by the way, under the Twitter space, our
Thank you.
website, because Casey, I wanted to thank you for mentioning the website. And actually, we have three websites, so I'm posting all three. One is, you know, geared towards the consumer with our app. One is for the businesses, and one is the landing page. And yeah, please
Yeah.
write to me again, BSV Panama, and especially
Thank
this
you.
link to this conference. You know, if it was
Good.
about me, I would love to open
I
essentially
understand.
globally. And you know, we think maybe now it's a step to do that. You know, we still cannot come to Panama and maybe do advertisements there, but hey, if word of mouth and you know, great ambassadors that you all can be for Centi, spread
Right.
the word. Awesome, absolutely awesome.
Well, my suggestion is to open up the country and then filter it through KYC. You know, then you get the information about who it is, and for example, if you know that the Swiss national that number belongs to the Swiss national, you probably can be compliant with all kinds of regulations, even if the number is from Panama. It's just a suggestion. I don't know if that's possible, but maybe it can be filtered out.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could apply otherwise pretty much the same standards as you might have heard before. We have this 1,000 Swiss francs a month limit, which already
Yeah,
limits the risk
that too. Yeah.
significantly anyway. And but maybe as a nerd comment from the compliance side, unfortunately, the let's say the citizenship does not reduce the risk. So let's say you're resident
Oh,
in
okay. Yeah,
Panama, then the risk is always the highest from whatever the checklist is, citizen,
I understand.
resident of doing business in, and so on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think I
Well,
I
thank
think
you.
I
I
did
will be in
mine with
touch.
like Skype
yeah,
numbers,
much appreciated.
BSV Panama as well. So FYI, and it seemed to work fine. So go ahead. We got Abo Mac as well on the stage with us. Did you want to have any comments or questions? Abo Mac? Not at this time. Okay, cool. Scott, anything you wanted to add or with Ben? We got a few more minutes with him. No?
No, just thank you for his time. Great hearing all that. And if you have any new developments in the future, I'd love to be able to, work with you guys to do any future spaces or anything to see these new countries that are springing up with Centi or any other new products.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thanks a lot. Exciting. And we will add more countries and things, but actually, if you look at our blog, you will see just today we announced new partners, extension, in the remittance service and so on. So yeah, there should be more good news coming from our side, definitely.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so just as a quick solution here, but it seems like the Skype numbers, if that's the only holdup, is the Skype numbers seem to work. You may want to try that in Panama there. So I don't know, trying to set that up. So yeah, cool, man. So that's really great, Ben. It sounds like we're about 10:20. So I want to thank you for coming on. If you have any closing thoughts, I would love to hear what they are, what people could look forward to from you.
Yeah, thanks. No, I'd just like to close on if you use our services, please, keep using them, give us feedback how we can make them better. We're actually really working on this a lot. I know it's not always easy in the sense that sometimes it feels like, hey, this should be easy to change, and why does it take so long? Usually has reasons or other priorities. We do collect all the feedback, and we collect it in our Jira. If you have not used the Centi app yet, please download it and use it. If you're on iOS, you can download it in Europe, EEA, and Switzerland. If you're on Android, you can download it globally. Again, the account creation is currently limited to phone numbers from 26 countries. As Gavin mentioned, there is, of course, ways to get such an SMS as well if you're in another place or contact me. But for the broad things, yeah, write an email with your feedbacks and comments. We love them. Support@centi.ch, or you can also directly write to me, Bernard@centi.ch. I answer whatever I can and whenever I can. Just please, yeah, sometimes you have to be a bit patient also with my email. So if you need an urgent support request, your payment didn't come through or something, please reach out to our support. They're great. And yeah, we love having you try Centi. If you have any people you support abroad, try our remittance feature. Try, sending some money to Kenya or Uganda if you have people you support there. And yeah, just keep an ear out for what we're doing. Much appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. I really appreciate you jumping on with us. I mean, it's really an amazing platform. It's like this is like exactly what Bitcoin was designed for. You guys are on the front lines and doing it. So, I hope that we can see a lot more adoption with what you're doing and people find out more about it. Are you going to be at London Blockchain or any events coming up that you're going to be that people can look forward to?
I have not committed to it yet, but it's likely I'll be in London. Yeah, so and also, yeah, if you see any payments or pay tech related companies, interesting things, of course I have all this stuff in my feeds, but I'm always happy if people like say, hey, have you seen this? This could be interesting for you. And yeah, I've also posted our websites now below your Twitter space. So if people want to look those up for reference, feel free.
Nice. Well, thank you, Ben. Well, if
Thank you all.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Ben. We can keep the space going if you guys like for a little bit, but if you want to drop off, Ben, I just want to say, best regards to you and look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, thanks. No, I'm happy to hang out. Maybe people want to discuss some other topics. I wasn't really sure, was this all going to be about Centi? Is it just general hangout, of the community?
Yeah,
There are
one of the
people
other
that want to
things
discuss anything, I'm happy to stay. And
yeah,
otherwise, yeah.
I was
Thanks for
hoping
organizing.
to get Brian Doherty and also Alexander Mann on here. I don't know if they're on. If they come on, Casey, please look for them because they're right now in DC in the swamp, and they are talking with legislatures. They're talking with Congress. They were in the White House yesterday. These guys are way ahead of taking initiative on things. And so I was hoping they could come in and tell us what they're up to. I talked to them 2 days ago, and I'm not at liberty to say any of the discussions I had with them. So, but I did invite them in. So hopefully, if they get time, they can join in and tell us what they're up to. It's really freaking amazing.
Yeah, I've seen they've been very active in essentially talking to legislators and in Congress and whatnot. I've seen a few posts, yeah, and it's interesting how when BSV started, essentially similar to when Bitcoin started as a whole, right? You could kind of almost read every post, or you knew every website that exists, you knew every company or every new project, right? And right now, especially once you start building a business, it's very, very hard to keep up with all the developments and all the things that are going on left and right. So, you know, if you know any other sort of super interesting developments we had lately in the space, and I'm always happy to hear them. I do check, of course, X sometimes or YouTube, but honestly, I have far less time for that than I would love to have.
Bernard, on that point, there's a BSV hackathon in April 5th and 6th in Houston, Texas.
Yeah,
It's called
bsvhackathon.com. Good
Oh
point.
yeah, okay.
That's with
if
Babbage.
you Yep. Thank you, Gavin. And if you have any up and coming developers, Ty from Babbage actually will fund the trip and everything to get the developers to the hackathon. Just a note.
Oh
If you
wow,
have
that's very
anyone in
generous.
mind,
So let's
yeah,
say our CTO would want to join the hackathon, then his
absolutely.
expenses would be covered. All right, man, that's
Yes, the
awesome.
trip, yeah, like if they approve it, they have to participate in a quiz. You can go
Yeah,
to bsvhackathon.com and
all
there's a
right.
quiz section, and if whoever is doing it flies with the, does it very well, they will consider funding the whole trip.
Okay. All
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Interesting.
bsvhackathon.com.
bsvhackathon.com you mentioned,
Yes,
right?
very
Okay.
simple. Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah, maybe you
You
could
can.
post that in the nest as well, Casey. That's a good point. I had Ty on the show a couple of days ago, and he that's exactly what he said. So if you have a smart developer, they can go to that website, take a test, and if they pass it, then Ty will potentially approve and sponsor you and basically give you a scholarship to the travel for the event. So definitely check that website out.
Or if you just want to participate and just fly out,
Let's
you're
register
welcome to do that.
here.
Anyone's welcome.
Yeah, I see it now.
Hey Scott, I wanted to ask you. You posted the other day about how I think it was Montana or one of these states, they bombed on the legislation for Bitcoin BTC. Did you get a chance to look into that at all? And what you posted about that? Was it Montana or Wyoming or something?
No, it's just the usual hype train of BTC. You know, sort of the promise at just over the hill, and they always just get denied. So it was just a comment of that. I um I actually had a question, just going just quickly off topic there, about Centi again, Ben, if that's all right. Just one of the things that I've found with it is that you follow Swiss banking hours, which is obviously like a 9 to 5 in Swiss time. And I was just wondering, with your sort of expanding to lots of different countries with lots of different time zones, is there a foresight to open those hours up to 24 hours or greater times, or how will you navigate that problem?
It was
Hello.
all scrambled on my side. I'm not sure
Looks
if
like we got
what's
a we
the
got a
same. Hardly hear.
yeah,
I
your
can't.
mic scrambled
Yeah,
on there, Ben. If you want to drop down and come back up, if it's or fix the mic. If anybody has any comments or questions, we're just on open forum, so feel free to jump up. We can do that. Uh, yeah, it looks like Ben will have to come back up when he gets a sec. Clear his mic. So we got Satoshi up now with us as well. Satoshi, you're out there living the dream. Request. Okay, approved, Ben. Nice. Approved. Mr. Ben.
yeah, can you hear me again?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
only heard you scrambled as well before, so it was maybe my entire headset was somewhat. So if there was a question for me, please repeat it. I'm sorry. I heard some things with some US states and BTC hype train, but I'm not. Maybe it was not for me. Just
No.
continue, please.
That was my point to a post, but my question to you was that obviously Centi, for paying out and things like this, only do it within Swiss banking hours, and I was wondering, moving forward with regards to serving other international countries, is there the foresight to do 24 hours or different banking hours with different countries, or how do you see that? Because if you want to cash out on a weekend or you want to buy on the weekend, sometimes it's a little bit slower.
Yeah, very good question. We we would of course love to have, let's say, 24-hour banking capabilities. I know that, for example, in the European Union, you have now SEPA Instant, which they have to process in 10 seconds. Switzerland also has now a sort of SEPA Instant scheme. Unfortunately, it's not compatible with the EU, and it's a bit absurd in some ways. For example, let's say you send us money in company banking, I can see instant. Yeah, I should use this instant option, but per API, I'm allowed to ask the system once per half hour if I got payment. So cannot really build a real-time application with this. And then, of course, as you mentioned, our payouts, like if you want money on the bank, you want to get money back, they're limited to banking hours or public days and things like that.
Yeah.
And we have to work with more banks, essentially foreign banks, European banks, banks that are in different jurisdictions and so on, to start doing that. That's definitely something that we would love to do, but it's not, honestly, not the highest priority right now. For most people, the pay in, their sort of next day, and yes, the payout, it
Yeah.
takes a day. But if
Ben,
you
your
do it on
connection's
Monday, you
kind
might
of shitty.
have it on a
So
Tuesday, right?
yeah, your connection's kind of bad. So it's kind of like in and out. But I did want to maybe you can like try to fix your Wi-Fi or something. Maybe it's your Wi-Fi or a headset. But I did want to say there's a story that I heard about Ben that I don't know when it was, but it's one of these Craig Wright stories where he was at a conference. I think it was a conference, and Craig Wright got questioned on his degrees, and he said he didn't have any degrees and they were fake. And I believe that was a Bitcoin Ben story where he came out with all the degrees. Maybe if your mic's better, I would love to hear you if you remember that story. If that was you that happened at with the degrees.
Am I better now, Gavin? Is that better?
It's
I
not.
changed it.
It's kind of okay. Now try it again. Yeah.
Okay. I really don't think it's my
There we go.
internet connection. It should be
There we go.
working.
That's
But yeah,
better.
maybe it's Twitter.
That's better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the story is essentially pretty simple, right? I was quite intrigued by the story of this man that showed up somewhere on Reddit, and everything was weird around it, especially like if these people all say this and this, why would they do that? And we all know people things are
Man,
still weird around that story and continue to be. But I think it's an interesting man. It's an interesting opinion. I was very
gosh,
much a big blocker
I really want to hear
from the
this story, Ben.
get-go.
It's
And
bad. It's a bad connection.
okay, well then I'm sorry. I cannot really change.
Now it's
I
better.
don't I don't know what I can.
Go ahead.
I'm not changing anything. I'm not changing anything. So
Can
I
you
I don't know
can you
why.
just drop down one time and come back and see if that fixes it? Sometimes that works.
Sure, I can try.
Thanks.
We'll leave you hanging there. Where's Satoshi at? What's he doing? Satoshi, what are you doing,
Yeah,
man?
mate.
What's
Mate, I'm listening, but
yeah?
I'm making documentaries as we speak. But this is a great chat, mate. It's really good,
Did
really
you ever
good.
hear? Did you ever hear about a guy called Craig Wright before Satoshi? He was trying to tell a story. This guy, I don't know if you heard of him, but he's
A story about Craig Wright.
yeah, that's what he was trying to tell. But the X bugs keep cutting him off, man.
Oh well,
Well, that also now. But I also heard you guys where it's rambled before, so I'm not. Maybe it's on my side. How is that now?
yeah, it's a bit better.
Okay. Well, I mean, so the story was just that, I thought it's interesting what he has to talk about, and of course there was this huge controversy, and I knew that a lot of that stuff that was told was not true, like that his degrees weren't there and so on. And essentially, Craig was and probably still is a difficult person to deal with, so I went back and forth with him on organizing all this, and then I said, well, there was this huge controversy. People want to uninvite you again. They say you're a scammer, you're a fraud, you don't have these degrees and whatnot. And I said, well, we now deal with this the typical Swiss way, right? And the Swiss way is, well, then somebody who wants to challenge the integrity, then one person should come up as a moderator and kind of challenge his integrity. And this wasn't really, I mean, this was kind of a weird idea, but the elephant was in the room. The integrity was already challenged, and I said to him, well, I'm not gonna. I told the other guy I don't want to know the questions you're going to ask because otherwise, you're going to say, oh, I gave the questions, it was biased or whatever. But Craig asked me, like, what do you think he's going to ask? And I'm like, yeah, it's for sure going to ask about these degrees. So he said, yeah, fuck it all. I'm going to bring an entire suitcase of frames, degrees, and certificates. And unfortunately, the glass on all of these broke in British Airways and so on. But yeah, that's all on YouTube, by the way. You can Google Bitcoin Association Switzerland, Craig Wright, or something like this, and you'll definitely find that talk. You'll probably find even in the comment section the link to the photographs of all these CDs and certificates and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, that's basically the story. Also, Lorian from Centi, when I organized this meetup, he reached out and he said, "Hey, I'm already full. Can I have a space? I need to talk to the man." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean," he was like, "Yeah, I already booked the flight from South Africa." And I'm like, "Yeah, for sure, we're gonna find a space for if you already booked the flight from South Africa." And so there he got in contact, and then we created all these things. Yeah, in hindsight, was it a good idea? I don't know, honestly. It's it's still some kind of stigma that sticks to me, and some let's say some people in the Swiss ecosystem have probably not forgiven me that I've organized this, and uh, yeah,
Sounds like
it's
sounds like
it,
his,
it's and it's never been vindicated, right? Because obviously for now everyone's clear. Yeah, I mean, the man said, "Welcome to law." The man said, "When evidence become indisputable," right? So these are citations that love to be thrown around, and where it's clear Frank said these things, and unfortunately, well, indisputable is definitely something different. You can still appeal, but that doesn't mean the evidence was indisputable, right? And welcome to law. And unfortunately, under these circumstances, we now have to say, well, he was not able to prove his points in all sections. I knew that a lot of stories that were told about him were wrong, but it doesn't really mean, everything else has to be right. And so yeah, this it was a very interesting event, and it got a lot of attention, and there was an entire shitstorm around it and so on. And I exposed myself as someone who would organize something like that.
mm, nice.
And I still think it's good we had it. Like, it was actually an interesting event. It was a really
Yeah.
interesting event actually, and it was full, packed, chock a block full.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, badass. It's amazing history, man. Yeah, we so Friday we got Lament on coming up. It sounds like that's going to be a really good space. And then also Bernard had mentioned Cent for gift cards. So I just want to plug that. Sounds like on Cent people could buy with a gift card or onboard with gift cards. I remember that was like something I'd done before, like Home Depot or gift cards or Walmart or something, if I remember. So that'd be a cool discussion as well to find out more about how that works. It could be. Casey?
I, I just invited Rory up. I know she's actually shopped at different locations using the Centi gift card stuff. So if she wants to come up and share anything, that'd be awesome.
Oh, hi, Rory. Come on up. Good to hear from you. Hello.
We definitely need to get on too. Rory didn't come up. I just said I invited
Oh,
her up
okay.
because I know she's actually
Hello,
used
thank you.
cards.
She
Yeah,
did.
so a few
Hey.
years ago, I used the Sentby gift card system to take one of my girlfriends to Chili's, and it was super cute. But the problem was that there were some kind of tricks on the payment. It took a couple tries. It wasn't exactly smooth back then. And then later, I also was able to use Centbee to buy a Walmart gift card at Christmas time. And that really helped out a lot. And the associate at Walmart was able to help me use it seamlessly.
Hmm. Wow.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah, they
tried it
have a
yet.
lot of they have also vouchers for Swiss companies in there. They have a lot of vouchers in there. I purchased only one once, but there's quite a selection they have there actually for many countries.
Yeah, they've got a lot of the top brands in the UK as well, Harrods and other Harvey Nichols. They're all supported gift vouchers wise.
Huh. Rory, good to hear from you. It sounds like you used Centi before at Walmart. Now, is that with a gift card? Like, if I have a gift card? Well, I guess how does that work?
No.
You know.
Yeah, so this is within the Centbee app. Sorry, there's some noise from the neighbors. But the Centbee app you can go into, and with your BSV within the wallet, you can go through your region and then choose your select gift card. There were so many various options, and then you spend your BSV to buy the gift card, and then you use the gift card in the app at the point of sale.
Mm. Wow. Very cool. Sounds like it, man. That's amazing. I know Centi, those guys I haven't ever talked to before. Have you talked to them before, Scott?
Not Senti, but they do a show. They do like a little podcast. I'm not sure if it's every week, but they're quite regular with that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they have a super cool show.
they're wonderful. I love their show. Yeah. I just shared the thing in the nest.
Hmm. Nice. Yeah, and there's, we're gonna do limit on Friday. I'm scheduling it right now. Well, I'm gonna be scheduling it soon. I already talked. Yeah, that's coming up. And Limit's gonna be doing some big things coming up. They're really gonna be huge. And as soon as anyways, we're gonna do a show on Friday with Daniel. And so that's been a long time coming. So look for that. Next, oh, and then also next Friday, Scott, didn't we have Ty with Babbage and
Yeah, there was on Wednesday next week.
Wednesday?
There's there's Darimi Kushina, and Alex Mann. I believe Rory, you spoke to them about olive oil and truffles and things like that previously on one of your spaces. And then
Oh,
there'll
yeah.
also be the Alex Mann talking about the DAO, the new bill that's been passed in Virginia, that has been voted on. He's going to also talk about that.
Rory, did you want to comment on that? Sounds like you met him before.
Oh yeah, that is it Francesco. He was selling the truffles
Yeah,
and the olive oil from Italy via South Korea. So he's really
yeah.
industrious and has a great network there. And I think that One Love was interested in making the purchase. I remember her expressing interest in that in another space. And as far as Alexander Mann, oh my gosh, he blew my mind when we spoke on Explain Like I'm Five. And he was talking all about the data points from agriculture, different agri-tech that can be hooked in and then used within the scalable blockchain. And I know that when the BSV Association was co hosting some events with Financial Times Live at the World Economic Forum just a couple months ago, I did hear them mention that as a use case. So definitely it would be cool when you speak with Alexander Mann to hear the latest news. Like, was he able to bring more transactions on chain? Because that was his priority. How can we get more transactions on chain?
Yeah, we spoke to him in a previous space, talking about the agrotech when they presented it to some of the, I believe it was senators, was it Gavin, or was it legislators in Virginia?
Yeah, state
So they got a chance.
legislatures.
That's the one. Yeah, they got a chance to sort of showcase how they're implementing that, and obviously the product passports with they were using wine, and the issues of different areas having premiums of winemaking and how they can track that wine. So yeah, it was really interesting, and I think he's obviously gonna go over that again next Wednesday as well. But I think primary focus is the fact that this new bill is getting passed. So, but yeah, super interesting. Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
So that's Wednesday, and then Friday is gonna be Babbage next Friday. And then also with the Friday one is that I was thinking there's a debate going on about let me see if I understand this properly. It's a technical thing, and basically they say about whether or not you could spend a sat, a zero spending sat. It was between Babbage and another guy. Oh man, I have to. Anyways, Babbage is gonna be next Friday. I was thinking if we could make a debate space about that. It's about spending a zero spend. Does this ring a bell with anybody? A zero spend sat, something about that. Anyways, it was a little over my head on the technical side, but
Yeah,
yeah, Casey,
I've
go ahead.
heard. Oh, sorry,
Rory, go ahead.
I've heard Bridget Doran mention this, and it's something about how with the unspent transaction output, if you're putting data into that, it could then be lost. So maybe it's something technically related to that, where, how can you maximize the utility within the transaction without wasting the spend? Is just my initial thought.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was Dean. Dean, was it Dean Adams? He was,
Probably Dean Little.
Dean Little. That's the one. If anybody knows Dean Little, he was the one that was talking with Ty on the thread, and they had a difference of opinion on this. Mitch Berman brought this up to me with Metawatt, and it might have been what you're saying there, Rory. It could be very much related to that subject, but it's definitely something important, super important, because Mitch called me about it and he tried to explain it to me. But next Friday, that's going to be one of the topics. Yeah, for sure. So nice. Yeah, Roy likes it. So we got, and Alexander Mann and Brian are in the Congress, in the legislature right now. So that's why they're not here. But I think they will probably come and talk at some point. Maybe it's going to be Friday or whenever they're done. And they're literally in the halls of Congress in the White House. Yesterday they were in the White House. So there are some things happening right now.
So I've actually got a meeting tomorrow with Brian and Sean from Smart Ledger to do with my MVP that I've went through that smart launch program. So I can't not ask about how it went at the White House. It'd be rude not to. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Brian's post was
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna tune out. I saw one more question actually from Casey about the future of the financial world in 5 years, which is an interesting one. I'm gonna answer and then I'm gonna leave if it's okay for you guys. I think in payments, especially, I think a lot about payments. In payments, I think there is a more pluralistic world coming before we straighten out a few more players. So I think it's gonna like soften up this oligopoly you have right now, mostly Visa and MasterCard is gonna be challenged heavily, be it by neobanks, new players like Centi, other new players. And then we will see sort of a new consolidation probably. I doubt that they will. I think they will still be the leaders definitely within those 5 years, and likely also in 10 years. And they always also have a position in place. They book a flight to New Zealand. I want the travel insurance. I want the cancellation insurance. If I'm buying online content or a pack of chewing gum, I don't need this. So there will be different payment needs for different needs. That's definitely how we see the future here evolving, and we want to be one of those players that gains some market shares and actually creates a fairer and essentially more transaction fees. I have to go on this rant, sorry, but you invited me to speak, so I'll just blatantly abuse it. Transaction fees are much, much worse than what people think they are because they cascade, right? There are studies that show that over 50% of a product you're buying can essentially be transaction fees along the supply chain. And so even if you can save just 0.1% on 1%, that actually has sort of almost exponential effects if you would manage to do that through the entire supply chain, which is why it is so important to us to make sure that these payments can be efficient and very, very affordable, because it also enables much, much more economy and enables more complex supply chains and all this without price increases.
Ben, thank you for joining us, man. It's really great to hear from you and what you're doing.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you
for
what you're
inviting. Yeah, love to join again in the future. Thanks for nagging as well, Scott. I much appreciate it that you asked me again and again. Now I finally had time, and I'm more than happy to join again with you guys. And thanks for the invite. Much appreciated.
Definitely. Everybody check out Centi. I mean, really, like I said, just as a recap, I was able to get on the Centi app and with no ID and no KYC, I was able to send, from my bank over to the Centi app, and I got Swiss francs, and I also got BSV up to $1,000 a month. And if I sent it with the Swiss franc from the bank, if I sent Swiss franc from my bank in America to the Centi Swiss wallet, there was basically almost zero fees, very small fees. There was probably a transfer like fee from the bank, on the back end in the exchange rate, but it was minimal. That seemed to be the cheapest way to do it. So, that was amazing. Or I could just buy in BSV, and I think it was 1% through the banking app, and there was no KYC. So yeah,
Gavin, I couldn't have said it better.
yeah.
Thanks for this small ad block here at the end. Much appreciated.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. And it's there's no doubt about it. It's an amazing way to do it. So, I mean, for most everyday users, you're not going to, most people are going to do $1,000 a month is plenty. So that's consumer wise, and that's what you could do. So that's 12,000 a year. You could buy, onboard, without any ID or KYC with just one wallet. So closing thoughts.
Thanks, Gavin. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everyone else for joining and moderating. And yeah, I hope to tune in again in the future. And hopefully also one where, I'm not at the center. We have other topics. I'll try and join again in the future.
I'll see you at one of those late night clubs again in the future, Ben, at the top. All right.
Oh, yeah. All right. Bye-bye, Gavin.
Yeah. All right. Closing thoughts over to you, Casey.
Just very grateful he answered my question, and I was a little disappointed to hear him say MasterCard and Visa would still have a winning spot here in the next 5 to 10 years. But he's definitely part of the innovation that's rewriting the financial system, and I'm excited for it and here for it. So thanks, Gavin, for organizing this space, and Scott and everyone for participating, and I'll see you guys next time.
Right on. Okay, Scott,
Bye,
closing thoughts,
everyone.
buddy. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, just thank you for everyone again joining and listening and sharing. I'm just it's a pleasure to hear from. I message Ben all the time just with little information things I think about the app and stuff like that, and it's one of the only ways I can actually buy BSV in the UK. So it is a real quality app that allows for a lot of different users. But yeah, just again, thank you to everyone. Can't do it without you. So cheers, guys.
Nice. Closing thoughts, BSV Panama. I know one of the things, the solutions for you was that Skype. I know that, you get a Skype phone number in, let's say, Switzerland, and that might solve your problem.
Yeah, I will try. Let's see with that. Maybe it's going to work. Anyway, I think Centi is on the right track, and I really love this concept of stable coins on BSV, and I really on the side on top of it, I want to say that I'm really looking forward for a USD stable coin on MNI. I hope this is going to happen on BSV and soon, because I think this is going to push forward the adoption and the growth of the ecosystem tremendously. Swiss franc is good because it's a very stable currency, and everybody loves Swiss francs. But we must admit that USD is more widely known and available, and it would be great to have businesses accepting USD through a stable coin like MNI, and then working on BSV because of the cheap transactions and the ease of transaction and the speed and the security tied to it. So that's my thoughts for now, and thank you again for this hosting, and all the best to everyone. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you, BSV Panama. Yes, yeah, with money, those guys, be interesting to hear what happened. I mean, there's really been a lot of hype about it. So let's see what happens. I mean, I'll reach back out to them and see, if they want to make any announcements, or when they do, we should do some spaces and find out what they're up to. So sounds like they've got things really close right now. Closing thoughts, Satoshi.
It shows he's just a listener on my screen, so.
It shows he's connecting and a speaker on mine.
Okay, he went to listener mode. All right. So anybody else have any closing thoughts to add? If you want to jump up, Winifred, if you have your hand, yeah, you're welcome to jump up here. Winifred, if you want to jump up at the end here and say hi, it looks like you had your hand up, or you're just applauding us. I'd love to hear from you. I know Casey knows you, And so you met Kurt before, so feel free to jump in if you want to add her up. If she wants to add anything at the end, Casey, that'd be great. Let's see. Yep. Who's that? Satoshi? No.
I did
Closing
send her a
thoughts.
request, and
Okay, yeah, if she's
yeah,
available, jump on up. We'd love to hear from her.
we had a meeting last week with Kurt and one of her other colleagues, and definitely would love to hear her thoughts on everything she heard today versus our conversation last week. So
Nice. Yeah, Kurt was. Oh yeah, there she is, Winifred.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? Hey, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Nice meeting you today. My name's Gavin.
Nice meeting you too, Gavin. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hi, Casey. You guys are awesome and awesome together. That's great. Thank you. This was great. This was very educational. I actually need to listen again so I can take in all the groovy details. I was interested in the limit that they had on the amount that they could insure. That was interesting, and I'd like to know how they are decentralized but still centralized, because there is still some kind of combination there, right? Because if they're moving to these banks, how are they decentralizing everything? That's what I'd like to know in more detail. I'd also like to know their structured system for safeguarding. So, what's the ability to safeguard the system with all the things that may come up in our future regarding hacking? I know everybody out there is uh, super versed in all that, but I'd kind of like to know the security of what they've got. That's really interesting to me. And I also find it kind of interesting that he's a big SpaceX fan. So all of it seems really great. I think the integration sounds wonderful. And that's the way that we should head in terms of how we do commerce, how we work together in different things. So to me, it makes a lot of sense. Um, I just have to kind of pay attention to what the limits are and review that. So I'll be listening again back through to what you did, probably several times, and take that in. I'm just very interested in why they would even have a limit. But I liked what you said about the trusts and the unincorporated associations and all
Oh,
that.
you picked that up, huh? Yeah, let
Oh,
me break that down as to what happened here. So like, okay, I'm like a privacy guy. So well, I do have a public side. I also have a private side. Okay. So, the public side, oh, that's one way. But then like I kind of slipped on the call here today. I was like, well, Ben, I kind of have like multiple accounts with you guys, and maybe more than one, maybe a lot more than one. And he's like, well, you're not really allowed to do that. I was like, well,
I heard that.
and I said, well, you wouldn't be able to find me anyways, so I'm not worried about it because it's not, it's all private stuff. So that's the whole thing. Like it's able to be private, where if you have a trust or unincorporated association accounts, then that account could just wire the funds over to the Swiss account through the bank, and then it automatically populates with no ID, no KYC, up to $1,000 a month. So and then for the security wise, on the hacking and all that, that would probably be a good space for. I don't know who it was. It would be definitely another topic, but that we've had people on about the security stuff. But the way I would see it with these guys is, as soon as the money goes in, it becomes my own. I own it, like either in the Swiss franc or in the BSV wallet. So it's once I send it from my bank to the Swiss bank, it actually becomes crypto at that point. So now I can transfer it out to wherever I want to hold it, for security purposes. And then he has a $250,000 bank guarantee in Switzerland on the Swiss purchases. So
Right. So that's my question right there. Why the limit? Why is there any
why
limit?
Oh, because they're not big enough to have any more than 250 at this point. They're not doing, I don't think he's doing more than 250,000, whatever, a month or however much the limit is for Swiss francs purchases.
I see.
That's the only, he said he's like, yeah, we only need 250 right now. Unless, he had a huge demand that he said that that's all they need.
What dictates that cap?
Just probably whatever he's paying for the bank guarantee. Figure like if I wanted to buy a bank guarantee at the bank, I got to pay for that. And it's going to cost me as a company, I don't know, 10% of that or whatever up front to have the bank guarantee the funds. So his company is fronting the money to pay for the bank guarantee to back the funds. So he just have to, receive more transactions to increase it to pay
Is
for.
his company a trust or is it just a company?
Centi's not a trust. It's a corporation, I think, but it's in Switzerland in Zurich.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah, no,
the
that's cool.
Swiss bank is I don't remember what the Swiss bank is they use, but when I go to the app,
Probably an
They use a
association.
few of them.
what's that?
Yeah,
Scott?
they use an association. There's a few banks that they use. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's probably an association like you have.
Probably. I mean, associations are great, private, especially in California, we have UAs. So we
Yeah,
have the best UA laws, I think, of all states. Even people in other states or other places, they use California UAs.
it's true. It's
If
the
you're in the
best
know,
anywhere.
you know about UAs, and they're like, "What's a UA?" Well, yeah, it's one of those you need to know type of things.
Yep.
UAs are amazing for sure.
I agree. They're the probably one of the strongest safeguards people will have at this
Yeah,
point in time anyway.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, trust too, but I like UAs are just so simple, and they're so
Hmm.
and they can be, they're just private.
Well, they're user friendly. And the irony is even though they're changing all the terms of usury through all the banking system right now, and most people don't even know those terms. They don't even pay attention to the change in the terms. And the terms have been recently updated to say um, power outages, unknown acts of God, and everything in between is not our responsibility anymore. So if you think that you're going to walk forward in the way the world's going without something that's more of a safeguard, you're fooling
You're
yourself
That's so
because you have
true.
no claim.
That's like the great, what was it? Was it the Great Awakening? David, was it not David Wolf, but David, not the Great Takening, the Great Takening. David something, that documentary.
I don't know
Sounds
that documentary.
I
Ike?
no, I can't remember David something. It's the Great Taking. It's a
Okay.
documentary. And he talks similar about that, where yeah, you got to be aware of these new UCC laws that they are allowed to do these takings and take things from you if you have these type of accounts. They've
You have no claim to any of your accounts. This is kind of what I'm curious about. I'm sure Casey is too, regarding these systems and how they um, have that safeguard on the blockchain or how they're developed, if they're integrated or even interfacing with a bank, because the terms of use is the key to everything. And without knowing their terms of use or being educated on how to take control of your usuries, you really are subject to whatever happens. So that's kind of the thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, that seems to be what that Great Taking, it's a book as well, but he talks all about where they've changed the UCC laws to where they can basically take over your accounts. There's actually a case in, I think it was after the 2008 crisis. JP Morgan had a court case in a bankruptcy where they were considered a protected class, where JP Morgan was able to seize assets from not Morgan Stanley, but whatever, that Lehman Brothers, because JP Morgan was in a protected class, so they could seize their assets, and it basically set new precedent, on what they did. Yeah, so it's definitely something to be aware. But that's why we got
Is
to
it
have
David Rogers Webb?
Webb. Yeah, wait, what was that?
David Rogers Webb, The
Yes,
Great Taking.
that's
Yeah,
exactly it.
posted it in the nest for anyone
Definitely
interested.
watch that. It's super informative. And David Rogers Webb, that's the one. Yeah, and that's why, you know, BSV and holding your own assets is so important, dude. Like, I mean, like it's private. I mean, this is a conversation I had the other day with Mitch. I was like, think about it. We have private money. This is private money. That's what BSV is. Scott, am I, you know, anybody else? Am I the only one that realizes that? It's private money.
No, of course it's private, but there's a difference between privacy and anonymous. You know, privacy, don't get fooled, meaning it's completely secret and, you know, not obtainable by authorities or police or anything like that. You do have private money, but if you're going to go and use that money to, you know, traffic children or something, you're going to get found out because it's all registered on chain. So
Yeah.
don't be in the
Well, that's
illusion. And there's obviously ways to increase that privacy via multiple transactions, doing a cent per transaction rather than the single dollar. But even that, if you're doing something that warrants a big enough investigation, there's ways to look at that. You can see people like the Boring Sleuth and things like that completely obliterating people's launderings via chain information. So it's private, but it's not anonymous.
yeah. Well, it doesn't give you a right to break any laws. No, absolutely not. But I'm saying it's still private, and that's the whole thing with like private. When I talk about trust and private UAs, they don't get a right to break laws, but they still have privacy. And without a court order or a subpoena, of course, yeah, subpoena or court order, that's different. You know, you get involved in something, yeah. You know, there's always things, but without that, it's private, dude, and that's the beauty of it, man. It's private money. Yeah. So, yeah, Mitch brought that up to me the other day. You know, the one thing. Did you guys see the White House, the former administration? They lost. Well, I think they lost, or someone stole all the BTC from. No, actually, the Bitcoin. It's like the grandfather Bitcoin from the Silk Road wallet. They stole that, and they feel like they can get away with it now. So that's going to be investigated, dude. Because, like you said, it's traceable with subpoenas. Right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, some clown over there thinks he could just steal the Bitcoin that the government had, and it was held by the U.S. Marshals, and supposedly gets transferred out. But who was that guy that we had on, Scott, with Connor, and he was the expert witness that said that he could trace things with a court order, of course, but his expert witness could trace things through privacy coins. What was that? What was that guy's name? We had him on with Connor a while back.
Can't remember.
Can't remember either.
Can't remember.
Really, really good space though, man. He was the one that was like, he was testifying in the court cases as an expert witness, saying that his team could be hired to like trace transactions through privacy coins. Of course,
Chain analysis.
Chain analysis, is that it?
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Yeah. And that's a good thing. Like, we want that because, well, I'm not talking anonymity. I'm not like, dude, that like opens up to fraud and all that. No, we want to have a way to like get a subpoena and a court order. And if somebody did fraud, well, that's what we need these things for. We want to be able to track that stuff. Like, for example, they took the Silk Road coins from the U.S. Marshals. We want to find out who the hell did that. And if they went to a privacy chain, we should be able to find it, track it, and find a way. It sounds like there is a way.
I'd like to know the story behind it more.
Oh, about
Like,
what happened
why?
with these coins, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? How? Who?
I want to know it too, dude. Like, think about it. The U.S. Marshals has custody of all these Bitcoin. What is it, like 86,000 or something? It was a huge amount. And now all of a sudden they're missing. They went away. They're gone. Well, it's not
Yeah.
gone.
I'm sure
Because
it's out
somebody's
there.
going to get a court order, and that subpoena is going to track that all the way down, even if it went to Monero or wherever. I mean, as long as they hire the right expert witness.
Was it definitely a hack though?
No.
Was it like it is? You don't think there's like there couldn't be some backdoor in BTC or something?
Well, we don't know yet, but all we know is that they lost them.
What if it was Craig?
We know.
He's so off.
We know that the U.S.
He's
Marshals lost the 86,000 Bitcoin. They just lost it. They lost it. So it's just.
He did write something. It wasn't his first post when he came back saying something like they'll be looking at their computers and I'll already be finished or something like that.
Yeah. Speaking of that, what's up with him, dude? How's he doing? Has anybody talked to him? I heard he got in, bad accident.
Yeah, he did Joel Dallas, the Metanet and Slack run it. They do like philosophy. It was the philosophy of law before, which was like sort of Dr. Wright talking about different things. It wasn't so much with the case, but there was a lot of law elements that you could tell were linked to the Cobra case. And now they're doing the philosophy of money. And so they set that up for the Metanet subscribers, and they've also putting that on X Spaces as well. So yeah, that's pretty good. He had an accident. An ambulance was going along, and I believe the driver moving out of the way for the ambulance just completely took him off his motorcycle and went flying through the air. I think he's probably, from the sound of it, I think it was something with his shoulder and his knee and quite a lot of road rash. But
Oh,
he
man.
seems in good spirits and he's recovering, and I think he's sort of cracking away at his other degrees and other things he's concentrating on. But I think he's just rested for a little bit, after that.
Motorcycle accident?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God he's alive.
Yeah,
Wow.
he seems okay.
Wow. That was, convenient timing, right? During his appeal, right when he was doing that, they got into that accident.
Well, no, it was after that. It was after that, I guess. I
Wow.
don't think he's not. It doesn't seem as if he's expressed anything ominous about it. I think it's more ignorance rather than malice, so to speak.
Oh, okay. That's good to hear. Wow. Man. Well, yeah, Winifred, did you want to add any closing thoughts before we wrap here?
Well, I just am interested in learning more about it. I think it sounds great, and there will be obviously questions regarding how this is going to scale out there and work all over, and how quickly it can get out there if that's the case. And I look forward to seeing the interface of everything. I look forward to learning more. I feel like I'm a newbie compared to you guys. You guys know all this stuff inside and out. I have a different take on the world I come from and the things I report on, but it's it's all good, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate this forum, and to everybody here, thank you. So
Thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely post this on YouTube as well. I got a recording going for that. It'll be here on X. Friday, we're gonna do Lament, which is a content creator platform using Bitcoin SV. They're gonna be launching soon, and then next Wednesday is gonna be the guys who are in Congress right now. They're gonna talk about what they're doing, and then also Wine. I think it's Wine, and then Friday is gonna be the BSV hackathon space with the Ty from Babbage, which the developer space. That's for next Friday. So look for all that. Lots of things to come. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Let's end it there.
hey,
Okay. Go ahead. Any
Gavin,
last words?
one more thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find out who stole that coin. I'll get back to you.
Yeah. Find out who stole the Bitcoin from the U.S. Marshals, 86,000. That's a very interesting topic. Find out, please. All right, Winifred. Thanks for joining us.
I will. Okay.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Scott, BSV Panama, all the speakers, and all the listeners. I'm going to cut it there. All right. I'll see you at the top.